Esos judíos de las 12 tribus, que no son los que mandan hoy en el Estado de Israel. Los que hoy gobiernan, Netanyahu no es judío auténtico. Él es un cambalache que viene por allá de Polonia. Para los que les gusta hablar de religiones y dicen que esto es un conflicto religioso. No, esto no es un conflicto religioso. El conflicto que hay desde la fundación del Estado de Israel es un conflicto geopolítico, porque ese Estado lo crearon para conquistar todo el Medio Oriente y Asia Central y quitarle las riquezas y colonizar esos pueblos.
All right, Shalom. This is Brother Gabar, and before I hop into this lesson, first and foremost, I would like to give all praises to the Most High in the true Paleo-Hebrew names and in the Paleo-Hebrew tongue. So with that, I would like to say, Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Bahashim, Ha Rakah Kodash Ma'amaf. Double honors to the apostle and elders of GMS. Double honors to my elder apostle as well, Aharwan Banyasharala. Shalom to the Akim, the brothers and the women and children that sincerely believe, man. All right. So as you can see, the title of this lesson is interesting statements made by Maduro, President Maduro of Venezuela. Now, I don't know when he said these things. I just came across this clip on TikTok. And in the clip, you can see he says the true Jews, right, are not the ones ruling in the land today. Right. Basically, it's false Jews in the land, which is true because the true Jews, the so-called Negroes, right, and the nation of Israel as a whole, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are not in our land today, man. We are not ruling out of that land. All right, is occupied, by Gentiles, Jewish, right, and Israelis, and so on and so forth, man. The true children of Israel, the true Jews, are not occupying that land, and that's a true statement. And the next statement that he said is concerning the whole conflict between the U.S. and Venezuela. He said some people are saying it's a religious conflict, but he's saying it is, but it's not. It's simply about one nation conquering another and stealing his riches, his resources. All right, he said that's basically what Israel was set up to do, right? And, Israel been an extension of America, and that's exactly how America moves, how Esau moves. So by extension, that's how Israel moves over there, and that's how America moves over here, So I just wanted to get a couple precepts on those, mainly those two things he said, man. The first precept coming out of the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, and I'm gonna start at verse 3. And this is to the tribe of Judah, all right, so-called Negroes, who would be the Jews today, man. All right, it says, "O my mountain in the field, I will give thy substance and all thy treasures to the spoil, and thy high places for sin throughout all thy borders," man. All right, and because the nation of Israel as a whole, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man, because we sinned and transgressed against the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua, all right, the Lord, it says, "Oh, my mountain in the field," man, the Lord's mountain, the Lord's chosen people, because we sinned and transgressed against him. He said, "I will give thy substance and all thy treasures to the spoil," man. And what was the part of the substance that we had as a nation, man? It was the land of Israel, all right, but because we sinned and transgressed against the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua, all right, he gave our land and all the treasures thereof up for the spoil, man. These other nations and kingdoms and people came in and they spoiled us, man. They and they took the land, right? But that was all according to prophecy, man, as a chastisement unto the children of Israel, right? And verse 4, it says, "And thou even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage that I shall give thee." All right. And again, this is going on that first point that the President Maduro said, is that the true Jews are not in the land, right? And it's because we have discontinued from our heritage, man. All right, we're no longer in the land that we was given by the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. We no longer, well, 2/3 of our people no longer know that they are the Israelites of the Holy Bible. All right, the so-called Negroes don't know that they are the Jews of the Holy Bible. All right, we have discontinued from our heritage, man. Right, and it says, "And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, man. All right, and we still serving our enemies and oppressors in the land which our forefathers knew not, man. All right, we was kicked out of our land by the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah, and we were sold into captivity, into the land in the hands of our enemies and oppressors. All right. So again, just backing up the statement that President Maduro, the president of Venezuela, said, Maduro, man, the true Jews, the true children of Israel, the Lord's chosen people, are not in that land today, man. All right. It's being ruled by Esau, man. All right. These Jewish, Khazars and, these Israelis and so on and so forth. Right. And it says, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever, man. All right. So ultimately, because, we as a nation sinned against the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah, man. So he kicked us out of our land. He set up the basis of men being Esau. He set them up to rule in that land and also here in America, right? And it was ultimately because we sinned and transgressed against the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah. All right, but the time of our chastisement is coming to an end, man. All right, the nation of Israel is going to rule in that land, the land of Israel, once again, man, when the Lord sets everything in order. All right. But just to stay on the topic, man, this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, in verse 33. And this is one of the curses that the Lord said, Salakia, this is one of the curses that the Lord said will befall the children of Israel, man. All right, it says, Deuteronomy 28 in verse 33, it says, the fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away, man. All right. And man, look, the fruit of our land and all thy labors, it says, shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, man. Or in that nation which we knew not, they're still in the land, they're still in our land, reaping the fruits of that said land, and ruling in that land. All right. And that's exactly how the Lord set it up. But that was just for, that was just for a set time period, and that time is coming to an end, man. All right. It says, the fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, man. All right. And it says, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. And, not even realizing it, man, Venezuelans are a part of the 12 tribes of Israel, man. All right. So so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So, and it says, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. Look at what's happening to Israelites, Venezuelans right now, still being oppressed and crushed away, man. Their land was just conquered, right? Their ruler taken into captivity. Right, their substances and their riches, being that oil. I believe, and the elder did a lesson on this whole conflict, and in the article, it was estimated that I think it was either 300 or 800 trillion pounds of oil was seized by the U.S. Man, that's I don't know how much that translate into, dollars, but man, that's millions, if not billions of dollars in oil, man. All right. So the nation of Israel, right, is still being oppressed and crushed away, man. The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are still being oppressed and crushed away by these other nations, primarily Esau, man. All right. And just continuing on. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 9. It says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty. All right, the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah says he knows our works, our tribulation, the things that we go through down here on this earth, by the hands of our enemies and oppressors, right? He knows our poverty, the lowly state and the lowly condition that we are in. It says, but thou art rich, right? And those Venezuelans and they're not rich because they have trillions of dollars worth of oil. Man, they rich because they are Israelites. They are a part of the 12 tribes of Israel, God's chosen people. as so are all the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and our people that's mixed and scattered amongst these other nations. All right. It says, but thou art rich. And rich also because, ultimately the nation of Israel are going to receive the promises and the blessings of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. Rulership, ruling the whole earth, man. All right. Having the Lord near and dear unto us, having the law, statutes, and commandments, which is our wisdom in the sight of the nations. That's riches. Ruling the whole earth, man. Spiritual power, spiritual bodies, dominion, and ultimately just the promises, man. And being the Lord's chosen people, man, a nation close, the apple of the Lord's eye. That's what makes us rich. All right, and it says, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, man. And going back to that first statement, that the president of Venezuela, Maduro, said is the true Jews are not in the land, man. The Lord knows the blasphemy of these Jewish, people that claim to be the Jews of the Bible, God's chosen people. But that's ultimately blasphemy, man. Because when you go into their history, it tells you that they are Jews by convert, meaning they converted to, and it's like, and you can't even, you can't even convert to being a Jew. That's something, given, that's a birthright. That's a heritage, given by the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? So even that is false, but, they parade and mask around as the true Jews of the Bible, God's chosen people, but they are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, all right? Man, devils, deceivers, all right? And the Lord says he knows the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, man. All right. Continuing to deceive the whole earth, man. All right. And, man. And they deceive, through their media, man, some time ago it came out, man, most, of the entertainment, the news, the media, the so on and so forth is governed and ruled by, the Jewish, right? So they're able to paint different narratives and, spread their lies and deceit through the media, man. But man, it says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, man. All right. And ultimately, Esau, and these Jewish, the Khazars, well, they Esau too. So ultimately just Esau as a whole, man, they have a judgment coming unto them, for afflicting and oppressing the true Jews and the true Israelites of the Holy Bible, man, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. And I'm gonna get one more. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. Actually, so lucky. I'm gonna get the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. And I'm gonna just start at verse 5 for the point. It says, and this is speaking of Esau, it says, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, right? Because one of the statements that, the president of Venezuela, Maduro, said is, this is not a religious conflict. Is basically just about another nation conquering another nation and stealing their riches, their resources, right? So it says, also, yeah, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. And going into the book of Obadiah, all right, the nation of Edom, Esau, the so-called Caucasian race, they're the most prideful, man. All right. That's in the book of Obadiah. It says, the pride of thy heart have deceived thee, right? But it says, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. All right, man, Esau goes throughout the whole earth, conquering and pillaging, oppressing and stealing resources, stealing riches. All right. America has, I believe, over 800 military bases across the whole earth, just going about oppressing and afflicting and robbing, right? Man, it says, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Man, and I'm pretty sure brother seen that video of the it was I don't know what, the U.S. military and the troops dropped down from the helicopter on the oil tanker and seized the oil tanker and stuff. You know, they had to travel across the sea or whatever to, you know, get there to do that. You know, they don't keep at home, man. They go to and fro throughout the earth, doing as they please, man, being the hammer of the whole earth, you know, being bullies. All right. And it says, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires at hell, and is as deaf. All right, so whatever, however, or Esau enlargeth his desires, man, it becomes hell for that those people, you know, that they enlarge their desires upon, right? They man, they wanted that oil from Venezuela, right? Man, Venezuela getting bombed by Apache helicopters, right? I just watched a video on that the other day. Man, getting bombed by helicopters, right? Their ruler gets seized and captured and kidnapped, right? You know, and you know, and they get ruled over by you know, the king of Babylon, right? So as they enlarge their desires as hell, and is as deaf, right? And you know, death is never satisfied. And it's Esau is the same way, man. They never satisfied. They're gonna continue to pillage throughout the earth until the Lord puts a stop to them, man. All right. It says, who enlarges his desires as hell, and is as deaf, and cannot be satisfied, Salakia, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people, man. All right. So again, man, they just conquered an entire land, you know, conquered an entire people, you know, and man, kidnapped and captured their ruler. All right. So, you know, Esau just doing the same, they're doing the same things that they was made for from the beginning, man. All right. Esau's blessing was the sword, right? To rule with carnality and violence, you know, and oppression and wickedness. All right. So they're just continuing in the lot that they were set to be in from the very beginning, man. All right. And Khan, man, again, those are just a few scriptures I wanted to get after seeing that clip, you know. And again, you know, the true Jews, right? The true children of Israel are not in the land, as you know, the president of Venezuela, Maduro, said. All right. And this whole, whatever propaganda is perpetrated on the media and pushed out on the media, man, this is nothing more than Esau, right? Man, just going about enlarging his desires as hell, man. You know, being the hammer, being the bully, taking what he pleases. All right. But that's coming to an end, man. Ultimately, these other nations are going to rise up against this place and join together and destroy this place, man. Thus saith the scriptures, man. All right. And well, ultimately, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shah, man, through the holy scriptures. All right. So this is just all prophecy playing out, you know. So shoot, sit back and enjoy the show. All right. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.